What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because I had to buy something to feel something, and today we're back at it with another review. And today's video is a long awaited figure, that being NECA's ultimate deck in his training armor. I think the pre-orders for this figure were up in December of 2025, so it's been about half a year since this figure was announced, and I've been waiting for this figure. But he's here to review, so that's what we're gonna do. And funny enough, after deck was released, his brother Kawhi, which I really hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, was announced and up for pre-order, and they did say that the release would be in the second quarter of 2027, so it is going to be a while before we see this figure on shelves. And then hopefully not too long after that we can get their father, because it'd be awesome to have the whole family. But at any point during or after the video you do realize you want to pick up this figure for yourself, I will have a variety of online locations where you can do so, and I'll obviously have the links in the description of the video so you can go there again during or after the video. But starting off with what's probably going to be your most reliable location, which is the NECA store for $39.99, and then for that same price we do have the Target website as well. And then bringing it up a couple bucks to $43.99 we have Entertainment Earth, and then bringing it up in price again we have the Big Bad Toy Store for $46.99, and then for a whopping $49.99 we have the GameStop website. I don't know what it is with the gradual increase in price for this figure, but here we are. It is what it is. And with all that said, I think it's time to move on to the figure. And starting off with the packaging, we have a picture of deck with the Badlands logo and obviously the title of the figure on the front. And then moving over to the side, we got some more logos. We got the title. We got a picture of the figure, which is nice. On the other side, we have another picture of the figure, again with title and logo. On the back, we get some more pictures of deck. We get a little thing that tells us what's included, and obviously the logo for the movie again. And then moving over to the front, we can open up this panel. We get a nice big photo of the figure, and then the figure with everything included. It seems that everything that should be there is there, so let's open up this bad boy. So right out of the box, I can confirm that deck is a solid looking figure. This shouldn't come to anyone's surprise because NECA always knocks it out of the park when it comes to the visuals of their figures. I don't think there's been a single figure on this channel that I've reviewed by NECA where I've had an issue with the visual presentation, and that still stands with this figure. So I want to talk about deck himself first. So starting off in the head area, we can see that the predlocks are presented differently than what we're typically used to seeing for predators. Predators usually just let it all flow and hang, but for deck he has tied his predlocks up, and past the hairband the predlocks are individually sculpted, which is really nice. So if you want to do some toyography and you want to make it look like he's getting thrown around, you can move those predlocks around. But going from the top of the head to the hairband, it is obviously one chunk of plastic, but it is sculpted in such a way to still make it look like it's a bunch of predlocks flowing back. So again, NECA always putting in that effort. And then moving to his face, that is definitely the face of a predator. The skin looks rough, the skin looks rugged, the eyes are deep and sunken in, those mandibles are certainly mandibles, and the teeth on the inside do look individually sculpted. I'm sure it's one piece of plastic that they just did some line work to obviously make it look like it's individual teeth. But if you were to swap the face to where he has his mouth open, you can see a better image of those teeth, and you can see wrinkles in the gums and just the amount of detail they put into this figure. And then when it comes to the rest of Deck's body, when it comes to his arms and legs, especially on the exterior portions of them, there's this very rough crocodilian like texture that you can feel that really helps bring this figure to life. It's less exaggerated on the interior parts of his limbs, but you can still see it nonetheless, and it really again helps bring this figure to life. And as for his hands and his feet, he does have long nails on his fingers and toes, and those nails are sharp, and they did cut me while working on this video, so just a heads up there. But again, on his hands and feet he has that very rugged, very rough texture skin that we see on predators. And when it comes to the paintwork for his skin, it's very natural looking. The colors flow very well in and out of each other as they should, and I have zero complaints with how the execution of deck was done here. And finally, we can look at Deck's armor, and obviously this is his training armor from the movie, and it is made up of a tunic, a chest piece, a waist piece, one shoulder plate, 2 forearm braces, and then some shin armor on his legs. All the armor is held on to his body via leather straps except for the waist piece. So looking at the tunic first, it obviously looks very rough. It looks like it's been well worn. It's got some, punctures in it. It's got, wrinkles and folds sculpted into it. It looks like it's made out of fabric, which is, what we want. And then looking at the actual armor, all of it is silver. Some of it has some gold on it, and the silver and gold play really well with each other. The armor looks very primitive. It looks very rugged, very beaten up yet ornate at the same time. And talking about how the armor looks, it's very well worn. It's got grit and grime on it, which obviously I love it when companies make their warrior or soldier figures have beaten up, well worn looking armor, and NECA never fails on that. And then when it comes to the sculpt work for the armor, each piece of armor is just packed with detail, whether it's the line work from the armors, layering each other or paneling over each other, or just, engravements in individual panels on the said armor. There's so much going on, and it just looks really great. And then going over the leather straps, whether it's the straps on the chest piece, the forearm braces, or the leg armor, it looks like leather. It cracks. It's got, wear and tear. It looks well worn, and I love that. And while technically a swappable face, another piece of Deck's armor that looks amazing is his biomask. It's different from what we're used to seeing from, most Predators, but it still looks great. It's got a nice blend of silver and gold. It's got black in the eye holes, and it looks well worn, well used, like every other piece of armor seen on him. And I actually like how different it is. I'm not gonna lie. It just helps, again, spice up our Predator collections. I know that Deck isn't the only Predator to have a different looking mask. I mean, there's the Feral Predator, there's the Falconeer, and the Shaman Predator, and many more that I probably can't think of right now. But my point is that I think this is another welcome addition to the catalog of unique biomasks that we've seen. So with all that said, I think it's pretty obvious. I think NECA knocked it out of the park with this figure. So kicking off articulation, we can rotate the head 360 degrees, and then we can bring the head up and down a decent amount, and then we can get some good range moving the head side to side. And independently from the head, you can rotate the neck 360 degrees, which also means we can have the neck move back and forth or sway it side to side as well. And then moving over to the arms, we can rotate it up and over 360 degrees. And then we can get some decent range bringing the arm up and down. And the same could be said about the range when we do rotate the arm 180 degrees to bring it up and down as well. And then we can rotate the tricep bicep area independently from the shoulder 360 degrees. And we can get a very nice double jointed elbow bend on this figure. It's always great when the elbow can go past that 90-degree mark and achieve those shoulder taps. And then we can also rotate the forearm 360 degrees. And then when it comes to the hands, we can rotate them 360 degrees and bend the wrist however we please. And then moving over to the torso is broken up in two parts that both can be independently spun 360 degrees. But we can get some nice back and forth movement for the torso with a little bit of crunch. And then when it comes to the side and side sway, we can get some alright range as well. And then when it comes to the legs, unfortunately, we cannot rotate the legs 360 degrees because of the plastic tunic that Deck wears. If this tunic wasn't in the way, I could almost guarantee you that we could get that full 360 degree rotation. And then when it comes to the leg splittage, it's alright. I mean, it's probably as far as I could go in real life. So, I mean, I guess it's organic in some way, but it's not awful. And then from the knee down, we can get a full 360 degree spin. And then for the knee bend, we get some really good range here because of the double jointed knees to allow us to display Deck running or in any other various action poses. And then when it comes to the feet, you can rotate them 360 degrees and bend the ankle however you please. So overall, the articulation is pretty good. Kind of bummed with the lack of rotation in the legs, and it does hinder Deck if you're trying to get him to get into any kind of kneeling poses, because it just kind of has him awkwardly leaning back, as you can see on screen. So head articulation is good, the arm articulation is good, the torso articulation is good. It's just the leg articulation, the limitations there. I mean, the knee bend is really good, but the limitations that are there are kind of a bummer. So getting into accessories, starting off with the swappable bits, and we'll start off with the swappable faces. We obviously have the default one, we have this semi-expressive one, we have this angry roaring one, and then we have the biomask, which whether you want to consider that a swappable face or an accessory is, you know, up to interpretation, but I'm gonna include it in this segment. And swapping the faces is pretty easy. You just pull the face off. You can see there's 2 peg holes there in his head. There's pegs on the face. So it's just a simple peg and peg hole mechanism. You know, we all collect figures. We know what that's like. And the faces pop on pretty easily. They stay on all nice and secure. And this is how you would also equip Deck's biomask. That it's not like it would go over the default face. So that's why I included it in this segment. And then moving over to the swappable hands, there are 4 pairs included and then 1 individual hand that doesn't come with a counterpart. So starting off, we do have these open expressive hands, and then for the other 3 pairs, they're all just holding hands. Like, you can tell that they're all different in how their fingers are arranged, but they all serve the same purpose. So I don't know, like, you can fit like any weapon in any combination of these hands. I've noticed there's not really too much of a difference. Like, so I think NECA could have given us like 1 set of holding hands, and then could have given us 2 pairs of some more expressive hands for more dynamic poses and all that kind of stuff. But like, tell me, am I going crazy? Like, again, the fingers are arranged differently, but like, honestly, why do we have this many holding hands? I mean, if I lose one, sure, cool, I have backups, but I cannot tell you what each pair is made for. And then for the hand that did get singled out and has no counterpart, I assume this hand is for the arrow tail on the bow, because the index finger does kind of separate itself from the rest of the fingers on the hand. At least that's what I've been using it for. And finally, getting into weapons, we're going to start off with Deck's plasma sword. Now this comes in 2 variations, a collapsed and fully extended version. Looking at the collapsed version first, the paint application is fairly simple. It's got some nice metallic silver for the metal parts and a nice bone color for the bones that has some weathering on it to really bring those finer details to life. The line work on the bones is great. It's just, you know, all the different, you know, spines on the blade part just look awesome, and then obviously the texture on the handle is fantastic. And then looking at the blade itself, while it's collapsed, you can see all the mechanical bits. Even the part that would move the blade to fully extend it is sculpted on there, which looks awesome. We can see a little bit of Yautja language there, and just the hilt also looks extremely sick, and I think they did a great job with this version of the sword. And then moving over to the fully extended version of the sword, where the blade is all out, not too much is different sculpt wise. The handle, the spine part on the blade is the same, the hilt is the same, just the blade isn't in there. And when the blade is fully extended, there is this red, and I don't know what happened with mine, but I don't think the red is supposed to look like this. I understand that if this was a normal sword, this might be blood from, you know, Deck's enemies, but this is a plasma sword, and in the movie, the plasma, you know, ignites when the sword is fully extended, and it goes along the blade of the weapon, and it's like a straight line almost. Like when you look at the advertising for this sword online, you can see that the paint job is a bit cleaner. The red follows the blade very neatly along the whole sword, and when you look at the screenshot in the movie, yeah, the plasma is kind of, you know, volatile, it's kind of staticky, but it's not this staticky. It's not this all over the place. So I don't know who painted my plasma sword, but they sure as shit didn't do a great job. And I mean, it is not the end of the world. I have other weapons to display with Deck, but it is kind of unacceptable, especially with, you know, how high NECA standards usually are. I don't know how this one slipped through, but looking at the rest of the blade, everything again that was on the collapsed version is here. And besides the plasma being all fucked up on mine, this sword does look pretty good. And for our next weapon, we have Deck's wrist blades, and these are different from what we are typically used to seeing for Predator wrist blades. They're serrated all the way down, whereas regular wrist blades are serrated just at the end of the blades. and Deck's blades are a bit spaced out more than the standard ones. But overall, I think they're very cool. It's something different, and I think NECA did a great job with the sculpt work here. You can see the serrations in the blades and how they overlap each other, and the paint job is simple. It's just a nice metallic silver with some grit on there. And these don't function like your typical wrist blades from NECA. They don't, retract in and out like through a slide system. They're actually detachable via peg and peg hole system, and I actually kind of like that because I've found that the wrist blades that slide in and out break very easily, and I feel like with how this is done, they're not going to, or at least they're very less likely to, in my opinion. And for the next weapon included, we do have a combi stick fully extended. There is no collapsed version, which honestly I'm fine with. And looking at the handle first, we can see all these different intricate lines and shapes they're able to sculpt in, and it is absolutely insane. I expect nothing less from NECA. And even at the base of the handle, we can see, all the different lines and parts of the combi stick coming out that just look awesome. Even the little axe shaped blades around the handle look great, and even the things sculpted in between said blades. And going down to one staff, we do have this trident looking end that looks really sick, and on the other end is like this pick hook almost blade that looks really dope. And just overall, the amount of detail they're able to pack onto this is insane. Like, there are just details on here you wouldn't even think about while watching the movie, and that's just what I expect from NECA, is to get every little thing on here, even if you don't see it in the movie. And the paintwork is pretty simple. It's got a nice metallic silver with some wash on it to make it look dirty and used, and then there's some of that gold that we saw earlier on Deck's armor to make this weapon look a bit more ornate. And for the final weapon, we do have Deck's plasma bow, and this thing looks awesome, mostly being made up of silver and gold. The silver is that, again, nice metallic shine with a little bit of wash on it to make it look nice, well worn and used. The gold is, again, just like the silver, got some wash on it, making it look well worn and used. And the purple on here is obviously for the plasma, whether it's the string or the arrow. And there is a little bit of red on here for the emitters for the plasma, which is pretty cool. And overall, I think the amount of detail on here is sick. There's the hinges for whenever Deck pulls back on the bow. Again, the emitters are sculpted on here, and there's just all these different panels and lines that just like overlap each other that look really good. And one thing that I've noticed is when you try to display Deck with this bow, you can't have him fully extend his arm and get a full drawback, which is a little unfortunate, but it is a little bit better than what I expected. It's not just some wimpy little pluck of the string. It's this nice in between. I have seen people fully extend Deck's arm with it, and I don't know what witchcraft those people are using to get that, but again, I'll take what I can get versus what I expected, because again, I did not expect much. And that's just because whenever a figure comes with a bow and arrow, I never expect it to pose as well as I would want it to. It always seems like it's very finicky and just never meets my personal expectations. And here we are at the turntable segment of the video, pretty much where I go over what I like, dislike, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, anything like that, just general thoughts and opinions, and pretty much get a discussion going so y'all can, if you want, bounce off anything that I say and, go down in the comment section below, and I'll most likely reply to y'all's comments because I obviously like talking about this stuff. And in this segment, I kick it off with talking about the negative because I don't like dwelling on it any longer than I already have to. And I think when it comes to the figure itself, the most frustrating thing is the limited leg articulation, specifically in the upper legs, because predators, they're very athletic, they're very agile, they're known for moving around very quick, and it sucks when your figure of that species that has that reputation can't emulate that well. And there are predator figures that can, but I think it's because of the tunic, which obviously, if you've seen any of my videos this year, it's been a very cloth goods heavy year, and I think if Deck did get a cloth goods tunic, we wouldn't be having this issue. But here we are, and Deck kind of pays the price for that. And like I said, because of that, also he kind of looks awkward when you try to get him to kneel or anything like that. So that's one frustrating thing with this figure. Another thing that comes to mind is the sword and the poor paint job on it. Now, I don't know if this is an issue that everyone has. Hopefully not everyone has this issue, but I sure as shit do. And I find that frustrating because NECA is known for having amazing paint jobs. They have a very high standard of of quality when it comes to their visuals, and the red is supposed to be, you know, plasma emitting off of the blade, but for me it looks like blood. I mean, I guess that's kind of cool, but still it is unfortunate that I couldn't get the plasma sword how it's supposed to look. And I mean, I did want to display deck with the plasma sword because combi stick's kind of overdone. How many predators do I already have displayed with their combi sticks out? And the bow is cool and all, but obviously it's meant to be displayed when, you know, he's in a full, you know, action pose, you know, with both of his arms out and at the ready. And I don't know how much space that's going to take up on my shelf, so the sword was what I wanted to go with. And unfortunately I might have to reconsider depending on how much of a stickler I want to be, but it's just unfortunate that my sword came out the way it did. And before we go into the positives, one kind of in between thing that I have with this figure, like, it's not the worst problem to have, but it is something that I think they could have handled differently, is the redundancy in the swappable hands. There are 3 pairs of holding hands, and I cannot tell you what each pair is specifically for. They all do the same job just as well as any other, and I feel like I said earlier, they could have had 1 pair of holding hands and then had the 2 other pairs be something more expressive and different, but we just have a bunch of holding hands. I mean, again, if I lose 1 hand, I still have, you know, 2 others to work with and, you know, whatnot. But it's just something that I feel like I should mention, that if you do get this figure, you're going to have a bunch of extra holding hands. So now getting into the positives, starting off visuals. No matter what part of this figure you're looking at, except the plasma sword in my case, everything looks great. I have no issues with how this figure is presented visually. And then when it comes to articulation, I mean, it's just the upper portion of the legs that I have an issue with. When it comes to Deck's head, torso, legs, or even the knee bend, it's all great and I don't have any issues in those locations. And as far as the accessories go, I mean, what we get is pretty good. We get a bunch of swappable faces. I know there's redundancy in the swappable hands, but we do get a bunch, and it's not like all we get are holdable hands. We do get those open default hands, and we do get one for the arrow tail for the plasma bow. So there's that. And when it comes to the accessory selection, I think it's pretty solid, pretty safe, no issues there. Just wish that my plasma sword looked the way it should. And as for the price, it is $40, which is the standard, or the new standard for NECA figures. And this comes with everything that you expect in your standard NECA figure. Bunch of swappable faces, a bunch of swappable hands, handful of weapons, and a figure that visually looks great and for the most part articulates well. And obviously, if they improved upon the things that I talked about in this video, it'd make this figure all worth more than $40. So overall, I am fairly happy with what we got here. Obviously, there are some things that I wish NECA could have improved upon, but overall, I am happy, and I cannot wait to see what Koei has to offer when he comes out. And with all that said, that was NECA's Predator Badlands deck in training armor. I want to know what you guys think. Do you or do you not like this figure? Will you or will you not be picking this figure up? I want you guys to go down in the comment section below. Let's get a conversation started. I'll obviously reply because I love talking about this stuff. And if you did enjoy today's video, a like and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. And if you don't want to comment, don't worry, I get it. It's a lot of effort moving those fingers. And don't worry about the bell because we both know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, I already have a handful of Predator reviews on this channel. But if you like franchises like Predator, I also have a bunch of Alien and AVP stuff as well. But if you're also a fan of Star Wars, Halo, or Warhammer, I have that on the channel as well. So if any of that does interest you, please go check it out. And with all that said, please have a great day and stay hydrated because that shit's important.